Hey, friend. Welcome back to the Anchored with Purpose podcast. Today, we've got a guest for you that I can only say God orchestrated this meeting. You'll have to listen to our story inside of this episode because it's just amazing how the two of us met. Her name is Dr. Tennille Woodward. She has been in education for over 20 years. She is now a sought after speaker and trainer and coach. She gives presentations all over the country at different national conferences, universities, and leadership summits. And today she is talking a lot about leadership as a woman. Now, if you don't think you're a leader, I'm going to say don't tune out just yet because she debunks that myth because as women, we are all leaders in some. So pop in those AirPods, reheat that coffee, and let's dive into the episode. Well, hey, Tenille, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, I think we need to share kind of like how we connected because it is such a crazy story that really only God could have orchestrated this.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I've got to share this with everyone. It was a Sunday afternoon. I got a text from a man named Terry, who I was in Toastmasters with last year. And Terry's message said, "Hey, Melissa, just checking, by any chance, are you going to the John Maxwell Leadership Conference on Tuesday? My cousin is going to be there, and I really think the two of you should meet. You've got a lot in common." And I said, "Thanks so much for reaching out. I'm not going to be there, but actually, my friend Kelly Lippenholtz is going to be there." And I only knew that because I had just sent her a text message on Friday saying, "Hey, let's catch up soon. Let's get you back on the podcast again." So Terry then started a chain with the three of us, right?
Yes.
And then right after I got the message where he introduced us in a chain, I get a text from Kelly and it's a picture of the two of you. It is crazy. So now, Tenille, you tell the rest of the story because you were there.
Yeah. So Terry texted me what you sent him of, hey, I'm not there, but Kelly's there. So I texted him and I was like, that name sounds familiar. Now, I'm in a room of 520 tables with 8 people. So 4,000 people in the room. And I went about my day, didn't really think much about it. And at the end of that day, anyone that is new to the Maxwell organization, we go around, we do a 3-minute speech. So each person at the table stands up, talks for 3 minutes about anything, and we go around. So this person stood up and I look at her name tag and I am dumbfounded. Kelly is sitting at my table in a room of 4,000 people. And the poor thing, she finishes her 3 minutes. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to stop you. But do you know Melissa? And she's like, what? It was crazy. Just crazy.
It's so wild. Only God could make all of that happen. It's just incredible. So I feel like we knew, like, as soon as you and I started talking, we were like, we have to do this. We have to do an episode together. It's just wild.
Yeah.
I love it. So, Tenille, can you just start by sharing a little bit about your background, what led you into the world of leadership coaching and speaking, and just a little bit more about you?
Yeah, thank you. I started out in corporate finance and was headed down the road of software consulting. Had a baby, decided I didn't want to travel 80 hours a week. Went to meet the person who was my elementary principal when I was in school. And before we finished the conversation, she's like, here's your textbook and here's your classroom keys. And I was like, I think I just got a different job.
Did you just get a job?
So I started teaching middle school because everyone jumps from corporate finance into 7th grade math and science. Survived. And 21 years later, I was a principal for quite a while, a district administrator for quite a while. And all along the way, I saw the same reality that people often don't see themselves as leaders. And I think we don't do enough to help people embrace their leadership. Leadership is influence. Maxwell says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And we all have influence in whatever space we're in. And so helping women step into that influence, we already have it. We just maybe don't see it and embrace it. And I think it's just so important The journey along the way of how I've stepped more into that role and into that, I want to share that with others and help them grow forward also.
That's incredible. Now, can you share just a little bit about like one of your recent speaking engagements? What was that like? How did you help the leaders in the room?
Yeah, great question. Not too long ago, I spoke at a Meeting Professionals International event, and the topic was how to work with complicated people. So, these are more meeting organizers, event creators and coordinators. And I thought, what a great topic because we all work with complicated people, right? And so, and their setting was a movie theme. And so I created these three archetype of people set around a movie theme. So it was the scene stealer, the plot twister, and the silent extra. And it was
Oh
a
my
great
gosh.
conversation. For the most part, 95% women in the room. And we talked through these three archetypes and how they show up in teams, strategies for supporting them, strategies for dealing with them. Great conversation, right? Because some of what we uncovered is in some cases, we're all each of the three at different points in our lives. And how do we, if we've ever been a silent extra, how do we keep from not swinging that pendulum 180 degrees to being the scene stealer, right? And so trying to navigate those interpersonal strategies, it was a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So you're talking about not swinging on the pendulum. So I think that means we probably need some alignment there. So talk to us about why it's so crucial for leaders today to have that alignment.
I think alignment is when our vision and our values and our actions all move in the same direction. But I don't know about you. It has taken me a while to figure out who I am, to step
Yes.
into that. I think for so long, I've tried other people's versions of who they think I am,
Hmm.
trying to people please, trying to be the title or the role or whatever that is. And so I'm learning to figure out that alignment and to figure out my vision and my values. And now that that is becoming more clear, I am holding firm, like, this is me. And it's okay to step fully into who we have been created to be and stop giving everybody else authority over that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Tennille, as you're saying that, I just hear, did you ever see The Greatest Showman? Like, I just am hearing the song, This Is Me, like in the background of all of that, like that triumphant song. That's what I think of when you say that. And I think you're right. So many women go through that same thing too, where like we wear all of these different hats and sometimes we make those hats our identities and we're trying to fit into somebody else's mold of what they think we should be. And so that's who we think we should be. But when reality, we're not being true to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
I have a
gosh.
whole playlist of songs like that when I start to doubt or when I start to, shrink back. I'm like, no, this like I am worthy of taking up space and being exactly who I am. And so, yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Especially for women in leadership. I mean, gosh, we know that there are so many fields out there that can be male dominated. And this is not anything bad about men. I mean, I've been a part of some of those worlds in my
Yeah.
previous career where I worked with mostly men and especially in high leadership positions. And it can be hard to take up that space and feel like we're worthy to be in those same rooms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always love when I find statistics that say that women tend to make greater leaders because of our high amounts of empathy. I'm like, yes, see?
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. And now when we are talking about I think we're gonna bring it back to like movies and TV today. If we're gonna stick with your movie theme, Tennille, I am just like I'm thinking about the end of Ted Lasso and oh my gosh, when Rebecca is like taking up space in the mirror, like sometimes we all need that
Yeah.
reminder. Like we need that visual and physical reminder of ourselves to take up space that we are worthy to be in those rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember being a young mom and I was just supposed to serve everyone else and everything else. And I just lost I feel like I lost years, and I did the best I could with where I was at. But when Maya Angelou says, when I know better, I have to do better. And that's a thought pervasively in my head of like, I can keep going. I can move on
Yes.
from where I was.
Yes, and Tennille, so many women who are our listeners, they're in that same spot right now. like they are feeling lost. Like they're in the throes of motherhood. They are still trying to figure out, who am I? Who was I before I became a mom? Like I think I know who that was, but like who am I and who am I becoming?
Yeah.
And I think your story can really help to inspire so many women.
Thanks.
Now, let's talk a little bit about burnout. So, this is such a huge challenge that
Yep.
so many professionals can feel and can have this happen to. Parents have can experience burnout. So, from your own experience in work and then the work you do with leaders, what are some of those signs that we might be drifting towards burnout?
Yeah, I love that you use the word drift. That's always the word that comes to mind for me with burnout too. It's like you don't really realize that you're veering off of the road. And I work with a great mentor, Chris Robinson, and he just released a book called From Drift to Drive. And in that book, he talks about the rumble strips. And so it makes me think I'm drifting off course and I hit those rumble strips. I'm like, oh, course correction. But, burnout, it's almost like you don't realize it's happening until it does. And
Yes.
I don't know about you, Melissa, but I'm 150% on with things, right?
Yep.
So if I'm in a position or I'm in a role, like I am giving every ounce of brain and space and everything to it because I want to create excellence in where I'm at and what I'm doing. And I've had someone say to me before, why do you care so much? And I feel like at the time, I'm like, well, how do you not?
Right?
Reflecting back into getting into a space, I was in education for 21 years, and in June, I walked away. I couldn't give, like, it's so important. What teachers do and what administrators do in schools is so important. And I had lost that fire to continue giving because of life. And
Right.
so I think it's important to find that drift, to recognize the drift, and to realize it's okay to stop and it's okay to take a break. It's okay to rest. And sometimes rest takes a little bit longer than you might think. For me, it's like, oh, I could take a quick nap and get ready to go. No, I was a little too far gone this time. But it's been important then to learn how, like, okay, I'm resting from this, but what am I doing? And I'm finding amazing people that have similar stories and we're pouring into each other's lives. And it's been so fulfilling and so wonderful.
You know what I've seen with burnout? I mean, your story, it just resonates so much. I've seen and experienced myself, like when I'm burning out from something and I'm exhausted and I'm at that place where I'm like, I can't go anymore. I've lost this fire for what I'm doing. But then I feel a different kind of like fire kindling in my belly. And I feel like that is God through the Holy Spirit just directing us that, like, hey, there is something different out there for you. Like, I feel like sometimes he puts out that old fire so that we are forced. You like, right, we're like burned out. That old fire has burned out and he's kindling a different fire. And we might still be really tired from the first one, but then we take that rest and then we're energized and able to just really feed that flame of the new one.
Yeah, I love that. After I stepped away, I have had just like our meeting, right? So many confirmations and affirmations of where I'm at and where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do. And every time that doubt starts to creep back in of like, yeah, but you gave so much. Don't you want to be back here doing this, doing something else? Affirmations pop up, confirmations pop up, people call, and I'm like, "Oh, nope, back to where I was headed. It's the right place for me for now."
Yes, definitely. And now you're taking what you've learned in the classroom. I mean, in a classroom, you are public speaking all day, every single day.
Yeah.
So now you just get to do that for adults instead of kids and teens, which is awesome. Can you talk to us maybe like what's one of your favorite signature talks that you do?
Yeah. I think that's a hard question to ask because as soon as I give it, like I always try to tailor the talk to the group, right? And again, I'm giving 150%, so I'm trying to make it the best I can possibly. I feel like I heard John Maxwell say, he's like, well, what's your favorite book? And he's like, well, the one that I'm working on. And so
Right?
it's like, it's hard to tell you, like, this is my signature talk because I would have said, I'm working on a talk called The Leadership Architect. And it's talking about how leadership is influence, and influence is the sum of communication, connection, and culture. And I would have said that until this past week. And I started talking about these archetypes and around a movie. Like, I'm so jazzed about how these things intersect. And, from a leadership standpoint, being a building leader or a district leader or a classroom leader, like I want to help people step into that and see the people that are around them and how to navigate instead of getting frustrated or getting burnt out from them. Like, how do we step back? And part of the end of that talk was like, how do we rewrite the scene for next week? So we talked with the leaders that were in the room of like, okay, you're going to run into a plot twister, right? Somebody's going to
Yep.
come in, change things at the last minute. You're going to have to deal with it. What are you going to do with it? Like, how are you going to show up intentionally in that space? So it's a difficult question. I feel like it's what's next or what I'm working on. And as soon as I learn something new or think more about it, it kind of evolves, which is kind of fun.
Oh, that's so fun. And I love that idea of the movie theater theme. I think that is so much fun. So much fun. Well, I know that in some of your talks, you talk about emotional intelligence and you've mentioned influence a lot.
Yep.
So, how can growing in emotional intelligence help us with our families, help us with the people we work with, and even in our faith communities?
Yeah. I think emotional intelligence is the key to stewarding influence. And I think for a lot of us, it's being reflective of where we are. And I think those seasons evolve and change. So if I am reflective and realize that I'm currently in certain spot with my emotional intelligence, like how can I move that further? How can I steward that influence? It's not the positional authority, right? It's leaders don't need titles. It is the influence in your family, with your children, with your faith community, with your colleagues at work. I think it's important, and I think it evolves, and I think it's having trusted friends around us that can help us, because sometimes I don't see my own blind spots, right? They're
Oh,
blind spots to me
yes.
for a
Good
reason.
point.
If I work with a great friend or I have a colleague I have that trusted relationship and she's like, "Hey, what's up?" Like those
Yeah.
conversations are so good to say, "Oh, tell me more. Like, let me be curious for a second and seek to understand what you're seeing because I'm missing it." So I think
Oh,
that's big.
that's
Yeah.
yes, that's such a good point too. And sometimes feedback can be such a tricky thing to take, but
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it depends on who the source of the feedback is. Talk to me about how you help teams with delivering feedback and then accepting feedback.
Mm, that's a great question. I think it is practice.
Yeah.
I think practice in that, like giving them scenarios, having them create scenarios that they have run into. When is the last time someone gave you feedback and it didn't feel so great?
Hmm.
When is the last time someone gave you feedback and it felt wonderful? And separating the difference between feedback and praise, there's a lot of misconceptions that, hey, good job is feedback.
Right.
No, it's not. Feedback is, I really like the way you put that agenda together. I noticed how you were intentional with starting with positives. Like it's that whole thing. That's a feedback. And feedback should be loops of information and not just one and done. And so I think it's working with teams to identify, great examples, not so great examples, creating some scenarios, and then letting them actually practice it. Because, if I'm a teacher in a classroom and I have to make a call home, sometimes that's a hard conversation to
Yeah.
have. So maybe I just need space to work it out with somebody and say, "Hello, Mrs. Senso, this is," and
Yeah.
practicing. So I think it's just working with them to practice until they feel comfortable with it. And, for the leaders that help them and support them, it's also giving grace and space to when we all make mistakes all the time, right? So when
Yes.
someone does something that didn't land like it was supposed to, you just say, "All right, what could we do differently next time?" And really that's the coaching process, right? Of coaching them
Yes.
through what could you do, how did that feel to that person? What could we have done differently? And then gently course correcting, pushing them back off those rumble strips, right? To say, let's try it again.
Oh, that's so good. And, women have to give feedback all of the time, whether it's at home, at work, with their families, with their friends. And we know that so many women who are listening, they're balancing leadership at work, leadership at home. What advice do you have for those moms who feel pulled in every direction and struggle with those blurred boundaries?
Yeah, we can't do it all at one time. It's okay to tell someone at any given point, "No, I don't have space for you right now. I need a minute. I will," I want to show up as my best self. And I know I have been in scenarios when I have been pulled in a thousand directions that I wasn't giving anyone my best. And so if I want to show up as my best, then I have to make the choice in the scenario that I'm giving. Like today, I sometimes I always think back to when my son is 21, but I always think back to when he was really young, 3 or 4, and I would put him in timeout or, take a break. But sometimes mommies need timeout too, like
Yes.
it's just that balance of I need 20 minutes to just sit and, go outside and put my face in the sunshine and just take a break before I can reorient. So I can choose to show
Yes.
up as my better self, which is what I always want to do.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. And that also can help us just avoid burnout too, is just
For sure.
taking that purposeful time out for ourselves.
Yeah. We all have to recharge.
Oh gosh, yes. And sometimes that can be hard, right? Why is that
That's
so
true.
hard?
That's true. It is hard. Yeah, because you don't want any of those balls to drop. You feel
Yes.
responsible for all of the things. And we are, but it's okay. Like at the end of the day, the laundry doesn't get done. In reality, it's not really a huge issue. And I think we put a
Right.
lot of pressure on ourselves that we don't have to. And we are worthy of being who we are and not being perfect the first time. I still struggle with it though.
Oh gosh, I was just thinking, oh, I struggle with that too. Why do we do that to ourselves as women though? Like, why do we expect perfection from ourselves?
I don't know. Yeah, I would love to know more about where that comes from. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, we're going to have to, we'll find somebody who does, and then we'll bring them on both of our podcasts.
Yes.
So, for someone who's out there listening who wants to step into more purposeful leadership, what's one small shift they could make this week to move from performance, that expectation where I have to do it all, to purpose?
I love that. I have showed up for so long trying to check the next thing off my resume, trying to check the next thing off the list of what somebody expected me to do. And through all of the check marks, when I still didn't feel fulfilled, that's where it came to be. Like I had to find what really fuels me. So I think for me, it's taking time away in the quiet, reflection, talking to a friend. I'm using Chat GPT to flush some things out right now. And, I just think wherever that role is for you, it's trying to gain clarity of what do you love? I always see there's a ikigai. It's like the intersection of what you love to do, what you can make money doing, like what your purpose is, and like this intersection of where all of those things are. And so I think it's working toward that. And I don't think I'm gonna find a magical one sentence answer. I keep working on it. I'm like, okay, this is my purpose. And then as soon as I do, I'm like, wait a minute, what about this? So for me, I don't think it's a one and done answer. I think that purpose continues to evolve, but I know that today I'm a lot closer to where I'm supposed to be than where I've been before today. And so it's just continuing to, when things don't feel like they're aligning, I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you.
Yes.
Trying to keep that plate clear and the vision in front of me purposeful.
And that sounds like that can just be the one small shift, just saying no, thank you, to adding anything else to your plate.
Yeah. Yeah. Our body tells us, right? Someone asks you to do something and you're like, oh, yes. Like,
Yeah, it's a visceral feeling, right?
yes. Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
no, thank you. I like that. That's
Yeah,
the one shift.
that's perfect. Well, Tenille, where can people go to learn more about you, your coaching, and your speaking?
Yeah, perfect. I have a website. It is growleadempower.com. And I would love for you to stop by and check it out and send me an email. I'd love to connect for coffee, have a quick chat about where you are in your journey and how I can help you.
Amazing. Well, Tenille, thank you for taking the time to pour into the Anchored with Purpose audience today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And to all of our listeners, thank you. We will see you next time. Stay anchored with purpose.